Peace, family. It's February the 6th, 2022, and you are tuned in to the DOABTM. So, for today's diary update, we have some celebrity media news in the form coming from allhiphop.com, and this has been reported that Awkwafina, or Awkwafina perhaps as it may be pronounced, has announced her retirement from Twitter and it finally addressed her blaccent scandal. Yeah, that's right. You heard me, blaccent. So some of you may ask, why is a blaccent? So a blaccent is the tonality and I guess the way that somebody chooses to articulate themselves in a certain way, especially if it's not indicative of their culture and stuff like that. So now I guess before we really get into this, some people are gonna ask, why is this a problem? Some are even gonna ask, why is this news? But I feel wholeheartedly that within a society that does its best to ostracize black people and especially dark-skinned people, that lighter skinned people and people from other nationalities and groups and stuff are often very quick to appropriate or take what they want from so-called black people, whether it comes to identity or image. They like to purport a certain type of image or sound or identity. And the shame of it a lot of times is a lot of these people do not, I can't say, I'll speak for them personally, but for the most part, a lot of them don't really like black people. Or what we see in society is we don't necessarily see that kind of love being shown for black people, but we see a love being shown for the stuff that black people do or say. And oftentimes it's appropriated to develop a type of cool pose or understanding. Now, anyway, let's get into some of this. So it is February the 6th, as I stated. You're rocking with the DOA TBM. So Awkwafina has finally addressed using the blaccent in her movies and TV shows and has decided to retire from Twitter. So I'm guessing Black Twitter was on her ass and stuff. You know how Black Twitter get. So it says after a 2-year hiatus from the microblogging site, Awkwafina returned to Twitter yesterday on February the 5th and said that she meant no disrespect to the African American community. Now, I just want to put in there that the African American community or the black community transcends just African Americans. We're talking a holistic thing. But anyway, it says she revealed why she's quitting Twitter. So let's check this out. It says there is a socio-political context to everything, especially the historical context of the African American community in this country. It is a group that is disproportionately affected by the institutionalized policies and law enforcement policies, all the while having historically and routinely seen their culture stolen, exploited, and appropriated by the dominant culture for monetary gain without acknowledgement nor respect for those where the roots come from, the pioneers of its beginnings, and the artists that perfected and mastered the craft. So that's definitely a true and factual statement. I would say I wouldn't really denounce that statement. I'd say that's a true and factual statement. And here we see it posted by Nora Awkwafina. So, don't forget, let us know your thoughts and stuff in the comments, but I think she's making a great point because if we speak about not just the African community, but the black community holistically, we do know that it is disproportionately affected by institutionalized policies and law enforcement policies, and not just policies. Oftentimes people hide behind these policies. I think it's more down to modalities and mentalities, mindsets, systemic structures, families. There's a whole panoply of reasons why. So when it says all the while having historically and routinely seen their culture stolen, exploited, and appropriated by she's quoted, dominant culture for monetary gain. Now that is a fact. And in terms of, I guess, the use of dominant culture, I would see that as not necessarily the dominant, but the most, who's in the control of the power structure. Because when I think of dominance, I do think of African Americans and black people, especially what she just mentioned in terms of creators and having their culture and stuff stolen. Ultimately, we're looking at the creators and the progenitors on the planet. So even when we look at hip hop, music, language, style, culture, fashion, all these things, we know who's definitely put these things together. So to me, it goes beyond just the dominant aspect. We attribute that to blacks. The recessive aspect, we attribute that to others, but we know that things can be usurped, especially within today's society. So she made this statement, which I think is quite apt and quite cool. I'm definitely gonna retweet it at some point. She also went on to say it is a problem we still see today, though some may pass it off as a convoluted mixture of the internet TikTok slang generation that liberally uses African American. I don't know what VE is, but some kind of abbreviations used to add that hip hop, a genre of music that is ubiquitous and beloved across the country, has now anchored itself as a mainstream genre in music history. I mean, that's a fact. I remember when hip hop was coming into play, even going back some years. And I'm not saying there wasn't some people from other nationalities that didn't listen to it, but what it stood for is cultural understanding, where it came from and stuff like that. It wasn't everybody listening to it. Even like now, watch WWE and stuff like that. Slightly off topic, everything's got a hip hop element to it. Everybody's talking in a certain type of slang. You've got these women coming out now, coming out to hip hop songs of like black women, or well, might not be black women, whoever else doing it, but they use that to adapt a certain type of attitude or a certain type of edge or a certain type of coolness, because that's what hip hop has ultimately become now. And I guess, we say hip hop's for everybody and stuff like that. But as I've said, we never want to disclude the originators and the progenitors, because that's what we see constantly happening and pervading through modern society. So anybody, definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments. I will be tuning back in on more topics like this. But in terms of Awkwafina, I mean, I ain't mad at her. I don't really know too much of her work. I remember seeing her in a movie recently. It was a Marvel movie, and I did think it was kind of strange the type of character she was playing in terms of her dialect and how she was acting. However, I did kind of just put it down to Americanization. I didn't necessarily think she was trying to be disrespectful. So anyway, Awkwafina says she has an undying love for hip hop. Her Asian background, as well as the movies and TV shows she watched as a child, helped carve her identity as an American when she was a young immigrant. So I could definitely take that. And I don't know if this is a music video. I'm not going to play it now due to copyright and stuff. But she went on to say, and though I'm still learning and doing that personal work, I know for sure that want to spend the rest of my career doing nothing but uplifting our communities. We do this first by failing, learning, acknowledging, hearing, and empathizing, and I will continue tirelessly to do just that. So it says Awkwafina, born Nora Loom, actually did launch her career as a rapper. However, the Queens, New York native rose to prominence in the hit show Crazy Rich Asians and movies like Ocean's 8. So let me see a bit more info on her. She's about Twitter and her therapist, and she said, I guess she's going to be quitting. I'm retiring from the ingrown toenail that is Twitter, not retiring from anything else, even if I wanted to. And I didn't drunkenly hit someone with a shoehorn and now escaping as a fugitive. So, yeah, there we go. Some statements that she made there. I mean, what you guys think? I do know what Black Twitter was like. It was probably on her ass for some of the stuff that she did or said. Now, I don't necessarily find her to be like a disrespectful person or anything like that. I do believe, as she said, she probably grew up where she grew up around what she grew up around, and ultimately was influenced by it. However, what I do want to purport is what people identify with Black culture transcends and goes way beyond just what has been built within America over the past few hundreds of years in terms of entertainment. So we need to be going to the root cause and the crux of some of these things, because I think sometimes when people are quick to attribute and identify Black culture to just like being able to be cool and tell jokes and rap and all this other extra stuff. So we definitely need to explore stuff like that. And I'm not saying that needs to be explored with other groups, but even just in general, that's something that should be looked at. So just a little short and sweet one. As I said, it's February 6th, 2022. I will be tuning back in soon with the DOABTM with more socio-political news and updates. Peace.